Wait a second. The A's finished the game with more runs than the other team. That means they won?
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a win! Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the podcast we talk about your Oakland A's, whether they are in Oakland or whether they're going to be in Sacramento or whatever the heck is going on in Las Vegas. I don't know. Neither do you. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I have been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now. This is my sixth season as a member of the Locked On Podcast Network and my first hosting your Oakland A's. They are rooted in Oakland for a few more months. Follow me on Twitter or whatever it's called now at Locked On A's, or my personal account, which is Sully Baseball. You can follow us on Instagram at Locked On A's, and I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's episode is indeed brought to you by our good friends at eBay Motors. Now, from brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customer. Sorry, Blue Jays fans. Hey, I know I've made this point before, but if eBay Motors has over 122 million parts, can't they send the A's $1 for every part that they have? Just $1 for every part that they have. Then the A's would have a $122 million payroll, which I guess is middle of the pack these days. But, you take what you can get. I want to just point out we've had a couple of great listeners and a lot of people sending a lot of comments and everything like that. And I don't mean to sound harsh because I love all of you who are listening to the show and those of you who listen to the every day. It's great. But I want to put a kibosh on like Greg Dayton. Greg Dayton listens to the show. I don't mean to say anything bad about Greg Dayton because, I like having fans on the show. But let me show you what he wrote to me, and I want to just put a quick kibosh on that. Here it is. Greg Dayton commented, "Mark Kotsay has to go now. The team is 0-8 and 2-13. This lineup is big trash." Here's what I love about you, Greg Dayton, and I mean this sincerely, that you're pulling for the A's and you're rooting for the A's and you want them to win as if this is a normal season and a normal circumstance. It's not. We all know what's happening here. Fisher has strip mined the team. He's trying to make it look like it's a disaster, both in terms of attendance, in terms of product on the field. Do you really think if they got someone to replace Mark Kotsay, who bring back Joe Madden, bring back Buck Showalter, hold a seance and raise the spirit of Earl Weaver or John McGraw, it wouldn't matter. This is not a team that's designed to win anything except the hearts of us as we see the team move away. I love that you complain like that, but let's stop acting like this is the manager taking a look at his lineup card going like, oh man, I have so many great players in my lineup. I'm going to mismanage it. That's what's happening with the Blue Jays. That's what's happening with the Cardinals. Okay? There are teams where that's happening. It's not happening in Oakland. But something positive happened. And you know what? It's been such a brutal, absolutely unwatchable couple of weeks that we've had. This 8-game losing streak with just everything falling apart from the moment that Corey Seager hit that home run a few weeks ago, that when we have a game like today, we have to savor it and admit it, A's fans. Admit it. When the A's were down 2 runs before they even came to bat, you thought, "Oh God, we're going to get our butts kicked by the Colorado Rockies." I did. That is exactly what I thought was going to happen. They were down. The McMahon hit the home run, 2 runs down before any A's batter took the field there. And then bottom third, J.D. Davis homered. Okay. So it was 2-1 at that point. But then Ezekiel Tovar hit a pair of home runs. He hit a home run in the 5th and a home run in the 7th. And the score was 4-2 going to the bottom of the 7th. And I just was sitting there thinking, like, oh my God, they haven't had a lead in over a week. Not a win, a freaking lead. They didn't have an inning where they said, "Hey, we're up." I mean, that's almost impossible. I'm not saying going on a winning streak. Just have one part of a game where you're not, trying to catch up. And when they, he hit the second home, Tovar hit the second home run in the 7th, and I just slumped in my chair and I thought, "Oh my God, this is going to be another loss. This is going to be a series beginning loss against Colorado." And yes, Colorado had a really, really strong, run that they had, a little bit ago. But my God, yes, you can handle. Okay, they got their butts thumped by Houston. Well, everyone thought Houston was going to be good. They got their tails smoked by the Royals, a 100-loss team last year, by the way. All right, but the Royals are good this year. Okay, they lost that series to the Mariners. All right, they're the contender, and to the Rangers. After a while, it's like, okay, we're home against the Rockies. Down 4-2. And I really was kind of dreading doing tonight's show, because how many times can you just look over, they lost, they lost. And then it happened. Like a miracle. Seth Brown hit the home run that made it a 4-4 game. And I sat up and I was like, oh, now mind you, they still don't have the lead at that point. But it was like, okay, we can do this. This is at least not horrible. And then Toro, in the 8th inning, launches that drive into the empty seats in right. And I got to be honest with you, I jumped up from the couch and gave a big kind of fist pump, which sounds hypocritical at one point, because I was telling Greg Dayton, I said, don't get too excited about the losses, because this team's not going anything. And here I am excited about the win, or the possibility of the win. But I never am going to be the fun police. I will never be the fun police, which is one reason that maybe I should give Greg Dayton a little bit of slack, because he doesn't want to be the fun police. He wants to root for this team. He wants them to win. Well, they got the lead. They couldn't get that insurance run in. There was that weird inning, a lot of base runners there. They couldn't get the insurance run in, and in came Miller. And Miller hasn't had a save opportunity in over a week. He's had mercy appearings from time to time. And it was so great to see Miller do what he's been doing, which is shutting down games. He faced 3 batters. He struck them all out. It's his 9th save. Who would have thought that someone who's going to have double-digit saves in all probability before the end of May? His ERA went down to 0.89. His strikeout to walk ratio is still through the roof. Ursack dusted himself off, because Ursack's had a rough couple of weeks. And he's had some of these losses have been pinned right on him. He was pretty good. He pitched a short scoreless inning. Brooks did okay. Think about it. He let up 2 runs in the top of the 1st inning, and then he finished with 6 innings, 3 runs. So that means he let up only 1 run after the 1st. Alexander let up a home run. Adams wiggled out of trouble. But this is how they drew it up. This is exactly how the A's drew it up. To come in and try, win that first game of the series and dust yourself off. Get off the mat. You can't have a worse stretch than the A's just had, where they not only were they losing, they were getting clobbered in some games. They couldn't take the lead at any point. But now you have to win one of the next two games, and they'll have won a series. And the more series you win, the closer you get to 500. And just keep in mind, the Angels lost, so the A's are in first place. And we're only a few days away from Memorial Day, which I believe is the first checkpoint of the season, and really the first time you can legitimately start to look at the standings. And if they can be out of last place by the time we hit Memorial Day, did I say Memorial Day? Yeah, Memorial Day. I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. So good for the A's. We got a good dramatic win. We got Miller doing what he had to do, and Toro, boom, doing the job. They rely way too much on the home runs, and that was one of the things that we saw in the games over the last couple of weeks. And that is, if they don't hit piles of home runs, they're going to be beaten. It'd be nice if they could manufacture some more runs. It'd be nice if they could be able to get the big hit here or there. But right now, after that horrific stretch, do you know what? File this under, I'll take it. Because if for no other reason, these podcasts are brutal to do if there's nothing positive to talk about. And there was something good today. Hey, do you know about Prize Picks? It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Now, the baseball season is about 1/3 of the way over. Can you believe it? So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Pick entries. Whether it's strikeouts, runs batted, and first inning runs, take your pick of more than or less than and add them to the Prize Pick entry of the day. And the basketball and hockey playoffs are winding down. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during the postseason. Prize Picks is as simple and it's easy to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawal, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. And they now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits in your account this basketball playoff season. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. Do you know what? In the end, it's really that easy. Hey, where is your hub for your sports news, sports takes, and sports information? It's time to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you to get to all the biggest stories in sports. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Something happened last week where the Nevada Supreme Court ended a proposed ballot initiative from one of the many teacher organizations that are trying to get the Vegas funding of the public money funding for an A's stadium in Las Vegas on the ballot to have it be voted. It was one of the potential obstacles, as the Schools Over Stadium group has been one of the most vocal opponents to any public money being spent on a private stadium and palace for billionaires. And I've made it clear, I'm not just because I am a proud member of the United Teachers of Pasadena and I'm a proud union public school teacher, but it just is ridiculous. You can't dip into public funds and say, oh, this is just a private enterprise. It, by definition, no longer becomes a private enterprise. And if you're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on something, I think the voters should have a say in it. And of course, the what shut it down was, like little loopholes and details. You have to have a referendum can't be more than 200 words, and it's more complicated than that to what they're trying to stop. Um, I will say this: I'm not a big fan of ballot initiatives. I'm not. They have them here in California like crazy. And I think and I'm not trying to get political, there's nothing to do with liberal or conservative politics. This has to do with the fact that we live in a representative, it's a constitutional republic. We have representatives making the laws. And so when I vote for a senator, member of the House of Representatives, a state senator, an alderman, whatever I'm voting for, I'm saying I'm trusting you to work on the laws. And I expect them to be able to not just read little TV guide digests of what a law is. I expect it to be complex. I expect it to be harder to understand than I can. And I don't expect me to be a law expert. That's why I elected you. You do that. I have to admit, I much prefer the ballots we had in New York when I lived in New York, where you go in and there were no ballot initiatives on there. You just voted for the people who were going to do their job. That's your job. You're a lawmaker. I'm not a lawmaker. And whenever you read one of these ballot initiatives, it's like, are you against the opposition for those who are stopping to not create a new negative foundation to stop an organization from not opening and helping the public? Like going like, I don't know. It's like the lawn signs are like saying, are you for this funding? Yes. Are you for what it stands for? Yes. Do you think we should pass it? Yes. Then vote no. Wait, what? It's just the way everything is legalese and worded oddly. It's complicated. We should have people who are doing that. Should be part of the government job. So part of me does kind of understand what the Supreme Court is saying, in that you can't have a huge, long initiative like that and make it too complicated. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but this isn't, not everything can be boiled down in a Bunsen burner to a couple of sentences. I don't know if the teachers were ever going to have much of a say in it, because, well, whenever you have to cut something, it's usually we teachers who get it. And of course, we've all seen that Nevada does not really take its teacher thing that seriously. I'm a certified teacher here in California, and every day I get emails saying, do you want to teach in Nevada? Do you want to teach in Nevada? Because there's a teacher shortage. Because the teachers are there going like, I could make more door dashing, or I could make more going to virtually any other state. I think there's only 2 or 3 states that pay their teachers worse than Nevada. And you're looking at them saying, oh, you don't have money for me, but you have money to build a billionaire his own private palace that doesn't, by the way, it does not improve the economy. The economic windfall of a new stadium is not worth the public money. It just isn't. There's study after study show that. If it's such a great investment, pay for it. It'll no doubt pay itself back. There are tons of obstacles that are still there, obviously, for Las Vegas. Tiny details like where they're going to build the stadium. Tropicana is going to knock down the casino there. They seem hell-bent to build something right away. And I'm convinced that the people who are running that are going to say, like, this whole baseball thing isn't really work. Let's build something else there. By the way, can we stop building stadiums near things called Tropicana? It's not good mojo. Tomorrow's episode, which is being dropped, tomorrow, is about me trying to find the silver lining in Sacramento, because I think they're going to stay in Sacramento. That's my gut. But a couple people have, written to me privately saying, why can't you be positive about Las Vegas? The reason I can't be is I think it's a terrible baseball market. As I said, I think it's a Venn diagram of all the things you want to avoid in a baseball market. You transplanted fans with loyalties to other teams, a lot more entertainment options. It will hardly make a dent in what people are going to do there. And it's a small market. It's a small market in terms of a TV market. It's a small market in terms of a metro region around it. Sacramento's bigger than it. But I will say this, and I can't stress this enough. If the A's wind up moving to Las Vegas, and that is a huge if at this point, I think it's about 50-50 at this point. I think it's 50-50 they do, 50-50 they don't. If they go there, I'm obviously not going to be happy about it, but I'll be rooting for it to be a success. I won't be rooting for Fisher. I'll be rooting it to be a success. Why? Because I'm a fan of Major League Baseball, and I want teams to work in markets. I want a team to work in Florida. I want a team to work in Arizona. I want the teams that are wrestling with their situation right now to work out. I want to see the White Sox work. And there was rumblings about, would the Baltimore Orioles move, especially with all the turmoil going on in their front office. They're going to work out fine. They have new ownership, a new direction. I think they're going to work out just fine. I remember when the Giants were looked upon as a team that could not possibly work. That Cleveland, now the Guardians, formerly the Indians, were hopeless. The Mariners were hopeless. So I think if they land in Las Vegas, I hope it's a success. I really do. I would love to eat crow about it. I would, because I don't think it's good for baseball when you have a market that doesn't work. I just look at them and I think, geez, I think that's a market that's not going to work. I'd love to be proven wrong, but this isn't me just being a hater, as a couple of people accuse me of that. No, I just think there are other places. If they had to move, I thought Nashville and Portland or Charlotte or freaking even Sacramento were much better markets than Las Vegas. I've been wrong before. I'd like to be wrong here. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performances. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Hey, this is a quick reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I spoke a little bit the other day about Willie Randolph. And Willie Randolph was the captain of the New York Yankees and was basically, like a lot of Steinbrenner stars, was let go because Steinbrenner was a lot more interested in other people's stars than his own. And the Yankees wound up signing Steve Sachs after the 1988 World Series. And Sachs played several years in New York. Sachs, of course, was an all-star for many years with the Los Angeles Dodgers and famously was on deck when Kirk Gibson hit his home run against Dennis Eckersley. He was the Rookie of the Year in 1982, narrowly beating out another second baseman, Johnny Ray. But the emergence of Sachs allowed Davey Lopes, the star for the Dodgers, to become an Oakland A after the 81 World Series. We'll get to Davey Lopes on another day in another episode of I Bet You Forgot They Were on the A's. Well, Steve Sachs went to the Yankees and immediately found out that he was not Willie Randolph. And while Sachs made a couple of all-star teams, had one or two decent years with the Yankees were in free fall. And they were soon, believe it or not, the worst team in baseball. And Steve Sachs had trouble getting he basically was having a trouble getting the ball from second base to first. And after the Yankees' popularity stumbled, just as they were stumbling in the standings, and Sachs was traded from the Yankees to the White Sox, where he didn't do much, and then was cut. And in 1994, Steve Sachs, the good-looking Rookie of the Year for the LA Dodgers, who was on the classic Simpsons episode, Homer at the Plate, suddenly became a member of the Oakland A's. He signed with Tony La Russa's A's in 1994, and he played, say it with me, folks, 7 games with the A's. 7. His first game was against said New York Yankees, and he went 2 for 4 on April 30th, making you think, hey, wait a minute, is Sachs going to be good this year? And then his second game, he got on base and scored a run, and things looked pretty good. And he, through the rest of the time, he got a couple of hits here, a couple of hits there. And then on May 8th, he played a game against the California Angels and went 0 for 3. And that, my friend, was that. On May 8th, he underwent surgery for his heel, and he was released during the strike. That's right. He was on the injured list, and when the strike came about, he was cut loose, and never emerged again. One of these years, I would like to write about some of the people whose careers ended during the 1994 strike. I'll tell you another one who did was Rich Goose Gossage. His career ended in the middle of the strike. He was a member of the Texas Rangers I think it was with the Seattle Mariners. I know he had a brief stint with the A's, which we talked about earlier. But Sachs was and to this day is a super popular player in Los Angeles, and he wound up being a broadcaster for a while. He had the Steve Sachs Foundation. He wound up being a coach under Kirk Gibson, his old teammate who he's on deck with. But for a period of time, 7 games, shorter than the A's recent losing streak, Steve Sachs was a member of the Oakland A's. Yet another member of the group of which I'll say, I bet you forgot he was on the A's. All right, well, tomorrow's episode is going to be about Sacramento and me trying to find the silver lining. And then later on, we're going to be talking to Paul Holden from Locked On Rockies, and we're going to wrap up this series. But I'm going to wrap up this show, and hey, it's past midnight, so I can play Wordle. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the A's, the fact that they won a game. Oh, that feels good. This has been Locked On A's for the 22nd day of May, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.